Hi all, and welcome to another week. It's Monday live, so it's been a bit of a busy month or two, so in and out. So what we're doing is we're doing a full week of lives this week. So Monday obviously for everybody, and then Wednesday and Friday just for the members. But we're then on Easter holiday, I'm afraid. Now, I'm going to be honest, my Easter holiday is actually working on a cruise. But it gives Helen a nice break from the lives. So that's so we are going to be broadcasting on Good Friday this week, but not on the Bank Holiday Monday nor the following Monday. So we've got a sort of 10-day hiatus. Then I come back to do the teams the week after. So anyway, you're probably thinking, hold on Bernard, you've just come back from a cruise. You're absolutely right. I have just come back from the Northern Lights, and we did see them in spectacular style. They were brilliant, I have to say, and we had a lovely time. Really nice group and good fun. As some of you will have heard, just on the very last night, someone got a bit ill. Not just one, I will say, for John. It wasn't just you, John. There was others who were ill, not necessarily of anything worrisome, but that did get passed on to me. But I'm feeling a lot better now. Sorry for the little bit of coughing and sniffling. He says coughing on the Friday there. So a nice full week this week. We've got the Into Bridge, of course, tonight, so that anybody who fancies a game, do join us for the members game there. I'm not playing tonight as that happens, but I might pop on to see how things are going. Still working with Into Bridge, asking you to have a go, because I'm trying to develop a certain number of things on there. When I've done my broadcasts, I've been getting used to the layout and everything, and there's some fantastic stuff on there, but some of it obviously takes getting used to. So I'd like a few of you to see how you get on with that. What else have we got? Well, we are changing topic. We are into April. That's April. So that's thinking defence in suit contract. Oh, it's hard work. It's hard work. I'm actually going to go over one of the hands that I use in the big seminar. So those, if anybody's managed to watch the big seminar already, apologies for the repeat. But I'll be going through what I mean by thinking defence. Now, in a way, it's obvious, isn't it? We're going to spend a bit more time trying to think about it. But it's worthwhile knowing what to think about. Otherwise, what you'll do is just pause for 5 minutes and carry on. So we'll try and put into perspective what we mean by trying to think a little bit more. And in many ways, it's simply trying to get your mind into gear. Okay. On Fridays, we are also talking about, well, the play of the cards. This time it's going to declare a play. We're going to be holding up. We started it last Friday with the very basics of holding up, and we're just going to gradually move on through it. We're doing our usual thing on Fridays, and that is our making our way through a process through the whole of holding up, as it were. So we used the rule of 7 last Friday, which is a sort of basic kind of thing where we're going to be thinking a little bit more precisely about it this week, and then we will make our way through some very different aspects of holding up. It's parts of it are simple, parts of it are tricky, as we found on most Fridays. You can take any topic and find yourself getting quite deep into it. We've got our little suit combination to have a look at. You'll have a bidding quiz at the end. So plenty to think about. I always like to mention the holidays on the Monday, which is our open session. So of course, in England, in the UK events, what we've got on offer, well, plenty going on. April, May and June, but you've also got the autumn that we've started promoting, and we are looking at 2 more venues, hopefully. We're hoping to see one in Yorkshire possibly, and one on the south coast. So look out for those. Those will be new, but we got our usual ones. Well, I say usual ones. We used to go to Blunsdon, and we thought, why not go back there. So John and Becky are doing a Blunsdon event in May, and I'm going to be there in November. So it's somewhere where that we used to use, and of course I'm in Denham in June, doing one in June there, June the 9th. We don't do so many coming into the summer, as it were, but it's a nice chance to get a bridge fix in, as it were. So that should be quite a nice event, I think. I quite like it there for myself. Obviously, it's nice and close for me, just 35 minutes up in Uxbridge there, and they look after me very well there. With regard to cruising, well, we've got a program. Our program at the moment goes up to May of next year. So there's plenty of options. What have they got on? They've got a couple of pictures there for me. One of Netherlands. That's the bulbs, the tulips there in Amsterdam. 28th of April, so quite soon. And then obviously a really nice one. That's on Barletta, the scenic British Isles, which the British cruise can be quite nice, I have to say. They can be rather nice going around Britain. So it's worth looking out for those. What did I think of the ships? Balmoral I enjoyed. Barletta was interesting. Yeah, no, a smaller card room. So we had 2 rooms. So I didn't have my stepometer on, but I have a feeling I did a fair few steps, both along the ship and up the ship, because we and what was fun. What was fun about it is that at times we had a bridge room full of coats and gloves and hats, because remember we were up in Norway, and of course if the captain sort of announced, "Oh, Northern Lights looking good," every so often we did have a break. I tried to regulate it so that we'd only have one break in a bridge session, because otherwise you can imagine it could have got chaotic. But generally, of course, the Northern Lights, if they're out, will stay out. So for the most part, our best views of the Northern Lights were after the bridge, and you did need to get dressed then. You did need. So I got, I'd leave bridge, go and get my thermals on, put on my trousers, and then double snood and hat and everything. And funnily enough, John mentioning the difference in temperature. Some of the rooms were chilly, some of them were conducive to sleep, particularly my doing the seminars. Anyway, enough. What are we doing? We usually look at this, don't we? Let's go over here. So some of you will have seen this on Friday. This is your classic suit combination. You're playing in 3 no trumps. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a lead. How's that? The Jack of Spades, I think it is, if I'm right. Yes. And you've just got to decide what to do with the clubs. I think it's relatively straightforward that the clubs are where you're going to make your extra tricks. So it's all about deciding how to play your club suit. You'll notice I've given you the 5, the 4, the 3 and the 2 as your extra clubs. It might be different if those spot cards were slightly different. But there you go. Okay, so that's a little question for you to have a little ponder. Shouldn't hopefully take you too long. Okay, I would say that's a relatively straightforward holding, but we'll make it a little bit trickier, I think, by adding a spot card in the coming weeks. Okay, so we're going to go over to our PowerPoint. As I say, today I've taken a hand from the big seminar. So those of you who haven't seen the big seminar, which you get online, of course, on the website, this will be prime you for when this hand comes up. Those of you who have, sorry for the repetition. What it is just to give an idea of the topic that we're doing, and then I will introduce new ideas, or at least extend some ideas for the rest of the month. Although, as I said, we've got a couple of Mondays missing, but we will come back after that. So let's have a think. What are we doing? We've done the suit combination, so I haven't actually got the PowerPoint up. That's why I'm getting confused. There we go. Okay, so thinking defense in suits. I always start, or try to start most defensive seminars with your basic tenets. You'll have seen this, I've said them many times. 3 basic tenets of defense are: make your high cards work. So an ace's job is to kill a king, a king's job is to kill a queen or jack, a queen's job is to kill a jack 10-9. That you want all of your high cards to work. If you just play an ace out, it's likely to get the 2, the 3 and the 4. That's no good. Okay, so you want hopefully your opponents to lead something and then kill that something with one of your high cards. You don't mind your high card being killed. I mean, if my king kills a queen, I don't mind if it loses to an ace, because it's done its work. You know, in a way, it's used up 2 of the high cards of the opponents. Low leads, promise honours, important that, as we've seen throughout, whether we talk about leads, defence, etc. If my partner leads a low card, and by that I mean a low spot card, so 2, 3 or 4, I'm expecting partner to hold an honour in the suit. If my partner leads something like the 8 or 9, generally I'm thinking, okay, he might want to lead the suit, but he doesn't necessarily want it back because he doesn't have an honour. Okay, you can always lead the suit back if you want, but your partner telling you that he has not got an honour by leading a high spot card will often make you think, oh, maybe I should switch. Okay, and that's of course going to be some of the things we're going to be thinking about today. Now, the third one, a little bit more difficult, but we try to give count if we can. Now, you don't have to do that, but it does allow you to defend as a partnership so much more powerfully if you play high-low from a doubleton and your lowest card when you've got 3. You can extend it a bit, high-low from 2 or 4, lowest from any odd number of cards. It will allow you to work out a lot more about the defending hands as a defender, and particularly distinguishing between your partner holding 2 cards and your partner holding 3 cards. That's the most common one. Now, of course there's other things that come up, but that's the most common thing that's really important. Okay, so what I say then is dummy comes down. Now, first and foremost, when dummy comes down, everybody has a lot to think about, except for one exception: dummy. Dummy is allowed to take time off. Everybody else has a lot to think about. Declarer has to make a plan. Okay, the defenders need to be excited about dummy. Defense is not easy. It is not mentally easy. It is a very different thing to pretty much everything else you do in your life. Okay, it's not easy to plan for. Declare a play is, because you can see all the cards that you are using. Defense is not, because you can only see half of your toolbox. Imagine trying to fix something in your house, only having half of the equipment available and not sure whether you've got the rest of the equipment there. Okay, so I don't know, you've only got a Phillips screwdriver and not the plain one, or whatever you call those other ones. It's really tricky. You have to work with someone else to defend, and you don't know what's in their hand. It is really tricky. So getting your head around defense is hard, and one of the ways to somehow get your mind in gear is by going through each suit in dummy. Now, we did this with Thinking Defense in No Trumps, which we did a year ago. The difficulty is in suit contract is there's a lot more to think about. Okay, so we're going to take our time at trick 1, and the first thing I do when dummy comes down is I look at every suit and I decide if that suit is led, what would I play? Okay, it's a very simple thing, but you'd be amazed at how it can get you into gear, because you start thinking, well, if they led the jack, I would do this. If they led this, and then gradually your mind is sort of somehow, you don't even know how, but you will find that you will settle into the way you might or might not defend the hand. Okay, for some of you this would be a natural thing. What I'm sort of talking about is to people who that card play doesn't come naturally. Well, if card play doesn't come naturally, then defense really is a very, very unnatural thing. Okay, so we've done the thinking about the suits. we're trying to prepare things. Well, now, I'm afraid to say in suit contracts, there's even more hard work. There is even more hard work because you've got to think about roughing. Okay, so should our side be aiming for a rough? So generally, has your partner led a singleton or a doubleton? Have you got a singleton or doubleton? Or have you even got a void, I suppose? Or has your partner got a void? You know, that's one of the first things you think is in a suit contract is, okay, well, if partner's led a singleton, then maybe I can give him a rough and maybe give him another rough or something like that. So that's your first thought, okay? And that's going to happen very quickly, and most of the time it's going to be no. Okay, partner hasn't led shortage, and I haven't got shortage. But, you know, it's clearly on the radar. And then there's the opposite. Do we think we should be stopping declarer roughing? Okay, should we be stopping declarer roughing? Now, in a way, you're looking for exactly the same thing here as you would do in your hands if you think you're roughing. So number one, similar to number two. Number two, you're looking for shortage in declarer or dummy's hand. Now, notice it's only the short trump holding we're worried about. Really important that. And that's usually in dummy. Of course, sometimes if there's been a transfer, dummy will have the long trumps. But let's assume dummy has the shorter trumps. Well, then if dummy comes down with a shortage with shorter trumps, we will be worried then that declarer might be looking for a rough. Okay. Because, of course, declarer gains trick if he roughs in his short trump hand. Remember, if he roughs in his long trump hand, we don't mind that, and that's number three. Number three is where we force declarer to trump. Should we be doing that? Okay, should you be trying to actually deliberately make declarer rough in his long trump hand? So we like forcing declarer to rough in his long trump hand. We dislike intensely allowing him to rough in his short trump hand. That's a really big step in the mind of a lot of players to understand the huge difference between that. So number three is, you know, if declarer perhaps doesn't have so many trumps, if we force him to rough in his long trump hand, he might run out of them. And the second point there is if you know trumps are breaking badly. That is a wonderful thing. As a defender, you can see that before declarer. Declarer has to start drawing trumps to find out there's a bad break. The defenders can know already. If you've got a void in trumps or you've got a singleton in trumps, usually your partner's going to have a bit of length. Okay? Declarer only finds out when you discard or your partner discards. Should we return? So the last two, of course, are both in no trump contracts and suit contracts. But those first three are three extra things that you need to have in mind for suit contracts. Number 4 and number 5, of course, are important because dummy's going to help us with this. Partners led a suit. Very often we think of returning that suit. Okay, and often it will be a relatively safe one, even if it's not a dynamic lead. We've seen this. We saw this in 3 no trump contracts. Partner leads a suit, ace king queen comes in that suit, comes down in dummy. Okay, you laugh that, oh partner, that's a great lead, but actually it can be very safe to continue it because declarer will just make the ace king queen. Okay, so you've got to decide whether you like your partner suit, what does your partner's lead mean, etc, etc. Number 5. And the difficult thing is we've got to go through all of these. It's a lot of work. We're going to look at one example hand. Okay, but there's a lot of work involved. That is why I call it thinking defense. And when you start doing it, you'll be doing it for too long. So I always recommend to people who want to practice thinking defense, play as a foursome at home, play a foursome online if you want. Allow yourself to take your time. As a foursome, say, look, let's see if we can try and plan as defenders, because most defenders don't. Most defenders just follow suit, and when a problem comes, they hope they get it right. Okay, and for the most part, and I mean this, 80 or 90% of the time, they won't. On average, I'd expect 9 out of 10 hands to be wrongly defended. Okay, at the highest level, the hope is that it's only 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10, but it's still a lot of hands that get wrongly defended at the highest level because defense is so difficult. But at club level, I'd expect it to be about 9 in 10. Often, the declarer will then cancel out the defence's mistake because they won't take advantage or they'll make a mistake themselves. So it might end up as the same. So should you be switching? Well, of course, dummy will often tell us, and that's so important. Okay, dummy's on your right, you're looking for a weak suit. So dummy's on your right, looking for the weakest suit in sight. That's really important. So when dummy's on my right, I'm looking for 2 little or 3 little particularly. It's really good switches. If dummy's on your left, you're generally looking to lead through strength, lead through heft. Okay, but again, it's dummy that's generally going to tell you whether you should be switching. Okay, and that's why dummy is so exciting. When dummy comes down, we start defending, okay, and thinking. Okay, so I'm going to give you this one hand. As I say, this is from the big seminar. So have a look at it. The green baize is the center of the table. Okay, center of the table. So dummy is at the top of the screen. As always, when I show defense, your partner's going to be the opening leader. Now, of course, you wouldn't usually see dummy, so we're not going to focus on dummy now. We're just going to see an auction. Then when dummy comes down, in inverted commas, we will then focus on dummy. So let's see the auction first. The auction, we can't see South's hand. South opens 1 spade. North has a 10 count, so it seems reasonable to bid 2 diamonds. East and West are both going to pass. Obviously we are, but our partner passes as well. So it goes a spade, 2 diamonds, nice and simple start. 2 spades from South here. What do you think North would bid over 2 spades here? So a spade, 2 diamonds, 2 spades. I would feel with 10 points, 8 losers, good spade support, it seems reasonable to bid 3 spades and invite your partner to game. Seems a reasonable bid. You could choose pass. I think that would be a little bit pessimistic. Bearing in mind partner can have a variety of hands for his 2 spade bid. I would say he's 12 to 15. Ruben knows my set hands. Obviously he knows that we're going to defeat 4 spades when we get in them, so he's suggesting pass. However, the auction does actually go 3 spades, 4 spades. Okay, 1 spade, 2 spades, 3 spades, 4 spades really, but North showed his diamonds in the middle. Remember, South's bid doesn't promise 6 spades. South could have, for example, had 5 spades and 4 clubs and wouldn't have been able to rebid clubs, so has to rebid spades. That's pretty much in any system that, so it's important to understand. So they finish in 4 spades. Your partner is the opening leader. He leads the Jack of Hearts and you go into the tank. Now, there's 2 things that can happen at trick 1 when dummy comes down. Some declarers will simply put the King of Hearts on. They won't make a plan. Do not fall into their trap. Now, it's probably not a trap. They're just playing it because they never make a plan. You are allowed to think at trick 1. Everybody is. East, West. Even if you have a Yarborough as East, take your time because your partner will want to think. Take your time at trick 1. After that, try and play in tempo. But what will happen at trick 1 is I'm going to go through each suit and I'm going to be ready with what to play. So after trick 1, if declarer wins, let's say the first trick, he's not going to, but let's say he won the first trick and played a suit, I would be ready straight away. So then I can play in tempo. But I've got lots of things to think about and I'm going to go through all of them. Some of them will be very quick, but I'm going to go through all of them. So most of the time, hopefully, declarer does take some time. He takes some time and makes his own plan. During that time, we make our plan, or at least we do our thinking. Okay, all right, let's try it. So the first question I want you to ask yourself is, if dummy led a spade, what would you play? If dummy led a heart, what would you play? Well, that's going to be different. Well, heart's been led by your partner. If dummy played a diamond, what would you play? And if dummy led a club, what would you play? Now, the answer to each of those questions is very, very straightforward on this particular hand. But just going through them will often make you think about the texture of the 2 hands. So, if partner leads a low spade, if dummy leads a low spade, if dummy leads a high one, if dummy leads a low diamond, if dummy leads a high one. And just going through that makes you start thinking. In diamonds, for example, let's put the answers to the questions. Obviously, we'll just play the lowest trump. In hearts, we're probably going to put the ace on the king, queen. In diamonds, you would maybe think about between the 6 and the queen. And that kind of thinking would get me thinking about, do I want to signal to my partner at some point? To be honest here, I probably would be playing the 6, which is not a count signal. But looking at dummies diamonds, I'd be worried I might need all of the queen, jack, 10 there. Okay, so, you know, I might keep them there just in case, as it were. And in clubs, I'd probably follow with the 6, planning just to play a high-low there. Okay, in diamonds, I'm just not sure I can manage that. If a small one was led and it went 10 and ace or something like that, but you probably could afford it. Okay, but why the queen of diamonds? Well, if it was late on in the hand, I might want to say later on, partner, I've got the queen jack 10 holding, so maybe a discard of the queen of diamonds or following the queen, that might allow partner to discard from his king. These are making it more complicated than it is. But what happens is, as you go through each suit, okay, as you go through each suit, your mind thinks about that suit, and somehow you will find yourself more geared up to the way the defence. Here, as I say, there's not so much. But imagine you had the queen of clubs. You would be thinking of whether you were going to put the queen of clubs on the jack or not. And doing that now rather than later is important. Okay, so we've done that bit. The next one is, will you win the trick 1? Well, if declarer covers, I think we're going to win the ace of hearts. Okay, okay. Okay, if declarer covers the jack of hearts with the king, let's say, you're going to win the ace and make your decisions. Okay, but there's a lot more other questions for you to decide on. You've got to think about the trumps. You've got to think about the trump suit. So let's do it. Is our side aiming for a ruff? Is our side aiming for a ruff? Okay, well, first of all, has your partner led shortage? Well, I'm hoping you're happy he hasn't. If partner was short in hearts, declare would have 5 or 6 of them, and that's a very important, simple first step. Work out if your partner's led from length or shortage. Here, he's not led from shortage. Have we got shortage? No. So we are not aiming for a ruff. If partner wants a ruff, he should be leading his singleton, if that makes sense. So if he hasn't led shortage, he probably doesn't want a ruff. And as you can see, you don't have a ruff either, a shortage either. Okay, second question. What we said was, in terms of the ruffing, is do we want to stop declarer ruffing? Do we want to stop declarer ruffing? Well, it looks like the danger signs are there. Short trumps and shortage. Short trumps and shortage. Okay. So, I'm thinking the answer is yes. So I'm going to carry on through my plan, but I'm thinking that I would quite like to lead trumps here. Because I think if declarer can ruff clubs, he is going to gain tricks. Okay, he is going to gain tricks. So I'm thinking yes. So what's the most important thing generally? Well, generally, after winning that first trick, the most important thing is to attack trumps. I mean, part of you, if I'm honest, part of you will be thinking, why didn't partner lead trumps? Because the auction sort of begged for a trump lead. It felt like North had short trumps with shortage. Do you remember it went 1 spade, 2 diamonds from North, 2 spades, 3 spades, 4 spades. I'm surprised he didn't lead a trump. Can anybody think why he didn't lead a trump? Why do you think partner might not have led trumps here? Okay, and basically, the point is, Where are the ace, king, queen, jack of spades? Now, they could be in declarer's hand. Obviously, they could be in declarer's hand. But they could also be in partner's hand as well. Okay, and that's the crucial thing here. So partner could have queen to 3, king doubleton. I have a feeling partner might even have ace, queen to 3. Okay, okay, but your partner could have anything. Declarer could have ace, king, queen, jack to 5, in which case, okay, partner, why didn't you lead a trump? I don't know. But I think most of the time your partner's got an honour here and doesn't want to lead away from it. Okay, so queen, even queen, jack 30. I mean, queen, jack 30 might lead anyway, but queen, small, small, king, small, small again, he might lead. Okay, but I think if he's got king, jack X, or ace, queen X, or ace, jack X, he's not going to want to lead away from that, because I think he's going to give a trick away. Okay. So the key here is, what's the most important thing? Well, if you think you need to stop ruffs, then that's what you should be focused on. So we're going to lead a trump here. Okay, and of course that helps partner because it leads towards his honour. And if he's got the king, for example, he may well win the king and then be able to lead another trump. And we might be able to stop declarer ruffing any clubs at all. Because notice that declarer's going to struggle to develop that diamond suit. Okay, because we can see the diamond suit breaks badly. So therefore, he might want those club ruffs. Okay, so this is a classic hand. You switch to trumps and there is the holding. Okay, so we have done a lot of work there. We have done a lot of work just for what probably you'd have all got. You know, some of you think, well, that's just a normal trump switch. I mean, what's the problem here? The problem is that there's going to be a different answer to the defensive problem every single hand you play. And some of them are going to be more difficult. Some of them are going to be subtle. Some of them are going to be straightforward. If you want to hit as many as possible, then you need to be doing that extra bit of thinking at trick 1. So going through each suit and trying to make your way through the haze of defense to get to any given answer. Here, what you're doing is you're switching to a trump because dummy tells you to. Okay, dummy has short trumps, or shorter trumps, should I say, and a shortage. If you look at the hand there, you can sort of see how declarer might play it. If you win the ace of hearts and play a heart back, declarer can aim to ruff 2 clubs. He can play the ace, king of clubs, ruff a club, and then actually aim to ruff the second club. Sorry, the 4th club, as in his second club ruff. I mean, yes, West can ruff in front of him, but he'd be ruffing with the equivalent of a trump trick. Okay, so I think declarer can get rid of his 2 club losers there that way, and he'll only lose 2 trumps and a heart. Whereas our switch, well, let's see how dynamic it is. We win the ace, we switch to a trump, and of course your partner can now draw them all. He can play the ace of spades in another spade, and that is that. Thank you very much. Declarer dummy's trump potential has completely gone, and declarer cannot ruff a spade. A club, sorry. He cannot ruff a club. There's no trumps left. Now, in fact, to escape with just 1 off, he needs to lead a small club towards the jack. He might try and develop his diamonds here. By playing king, ace and ruffing 1 and might end up struggling a little. Yeah, no, not quite. I think he can still get home if he doesn't play it straight away. But he's going to, can you see, he's going to have to lose a trick to the queen of clubs. If he doesn't, well then of course he could end up going 2 off. So that dynamic defence, amazing. Nothing declarer can do. You can see that he's got ends up having a club loser at least by leading small towards the jack. West wins his queen, and that's the end of that. Declarer makes 9 tricks. Without that switch, declarer will make 10 tricks. As I say, he can play the ace, king, clubs, ruff a club, cross back over, and play a 4th round of clubs. West is left with unsavoury options, as it were, because if he ruffs with the queen, that's a trump trick anyway. Okay. So you can see why West didn't lead a trump. As it happens, trump lead might be okay here, I think. Well, no, because declarer can ruff, can't he? Of course, your trump lead's no good at all. from West, because Declarer can still ruff his clubs, can't he? So it does need to be a trump switch from East. So you can see West has done the right thing and East has done the right thing, defending together. Someone just, as an aside, that's where I'll finish there. As an aside, someone was suggesting about signalling in trumps, and when I do signalling, and in fact I did them on the ship just last week, we were talking about signals. There are some esoteric signals you can use. You can, if you wish, play a high-low to say that you have the potential for ruffing in the trump suit. It's not something I would generally do. In fact, some people will even signal in trumps suit preference signal, because they feel that usually they're going to follow. Usually you just follow normally in trumps, don't you? So you can, if you wish, use your play in the trump suit to signal something to your partner. And one of those options, as was suggested by Tim, was that you could give what's called the opposite count. But it's not something you're going to need. And more often than not, against a good declarer, he might gain from it rather than your partner. Okay, like a lot of esoteric signals, they can gain on 1 in, I don't know, 100 hands, and that's only if your partner notices. Okay, and that's always a worry. So, as I say, that hand is from the seminar, so do have a look at that. Those of you who get to see the big seminar, thinking defence, really, really tricky. When I go through the set hands with the computer, it's really tough for Q+. Remember, I reckon that I would expect most club players to make a mistake probably on 8 or 9 out of 10 hands. I'd expect a computer to do the same. And so of the set hands, I would say it wouldn't surprise me if it'll make a mistake on probably 5 out of the 8, 4 out of the 8. Really, really hard. All we're trying to do is move up from getting 7 or 8, or maybe 8 out of 10 hands wrong to 7 out of 10. I know that seems crazy, okay, but, it is, defence is that difficult. If we can just improve a little, our scores will increase, but our partnership will increase. Now, you can do this as a single player. As an individual, you can think hard. Yes, you won't be able to talk so much in the defence with your partner, with the cards, but you can still use, like that last hand we just saw, the trump switch is such a powerful switch. Okay, let's look at the suit combination. I hope that was relatively straightforward. Let's go to that. Okay, what we said was, how do we play the club suit? So by making all of the club spots small here, I hope it's nice and straightforward here. You've got no backup, and so what we've said is, with no backup, we need 4 high cards to lead high. If you lead the queen of clubs on this hand, you are just asking for it to be killed. You are just asking for that queen of clubs to be killed. Whereas if you lead small towards the queen, you may, you've got many more chances, as it were, because if East has the king, then he might play it at the wrong time. So let's do that. We'll play the ace of spades and we play small towards our queen. East has it. Now, he could have king to 3, he could have king doubleton. With king to 4, he should duck. But perhaps the best chance is that he had king doubleton. Let's just see what he did have. He did indeed have king doubleton. So you can see why he didn't duck it. Okay, and now that queen, all 3 of our high cards have made. We were saying in defence we want our high cards to kill something. Okay, East felt he had to play the king, because otherwise he felt the king would fall on the next round. But of course his king has killed nothing. So now Declarer ends up making 4 club tricks there. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so that, with no backup, try to lead low towards your high cards here, and now you'll claim, we'll just take the tricks we've got there. So we'll take 4 club tricks and 5 top tricks. Okay, if that's okay. So we'll just win the ace, and then we'll probably, if I'm honest, we'd probably duck a diamond, but I'm not going to go into it. And then you can claim the rest, your top tricks there. So you'd finish with 10 tricks, as it were. You could duck a diamond there to put some pressure on one of the opponents, but we were focusing on the club suit just to show you the total, the complete club suit there. There's not much he can do about it, is there? You see, by leading small to the queen. Notice if we put the king in the west hand, okay, so if west has king to 4 there, okay, whatever we do, the queen will lose to the king. If we lead the queen, the king kills it, our ace wins, but we only win 2 tricks with the ace and the jack. So by leading small towards the queen, you're giving it power. What's interesting is if we change the 9 and if we change the 5 and the 4 to the 9 and the 8, things become a little bit more hazy. Okay, so we'll maybe introduce that next time. Okay, well, thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed that. We've got, of course, the bidding quiz to come up. I've got the beginners as well. We're talking competitive bidding with the beginners. A relatively straightforward set, again with the beginners, gradually going through that topic. So here's your bidding quiz. Don't forget, you can see that on the site. It's a 1 no trump opening from your right-hand opponent, and it's your bid. It's love all. 1 no trump, and it's your bid. Okay, so you can see the answer whether you're a member or not. Okay, but as I always like to say, it's about time you were a member if you're not. Okay, so it's 1 no trump, and it's your bid. Okay, so have a little think about that, and enjoy the week. Hopefully see some of you for the teams on the Friday. We're on holding up, and that is the special offer, I should say. I did forget to mention that. Remember, all the members get that included, but you can get it at half price as a non-member if you go to our shop. Okay, so you are welcome to join me on Friday if you fancy. Yeah, feeling a lot better. Those of you are asking how I am. Very tired though at times over the weekend, but feeling a lot better now. So we shall see. Okay, I'm going to love you and leave you if you're not going to join me for my beginners little section. So here, just a tiny bit on competitive bidding for the beginners. So what we talked about, and we've been talking for a couple of weeks now, okay, is that sometimes all the players bid. I'm just going to break that. I'm going to go back again, sorry. Just a quick reminder, we're not on next week and the week after, okay? We're not on next week or week after. We got page 16 by the look of it this evening in the Italian lesson that I'm doing with Alan McNeil. So for those of you who want to know. Okay, all right, let's go to the PowerPoint. Okay, so sorry, I'm going to start that again. So we are, for the beginners, competitive bidding. Okay, competitive bidding, and this is something that I spend a bit of time on, and I do it slowly and plod through it because beginners and novices find this the hardest thing. They make the effort to learn the language for opening the bidding and responding, and then annoyingly when people come in the middle of it, they don't know what to do. So when all the players bid, all we try to do is stick to our rules if we can. Okay, the problem is sometimes we can't. Okay, and one of the major things to bear in mind is when you cannot do what you want, you aim for a natural alternative. But the most important thing, and this is the tricky thing, and I want you to remember, is that if they bid a suit and you want to bid the same suit, I don't want you to do that. Okay, because when your opponent's overcall in a suit particularly, they're showing 5 cards in that suit. And generally when we bid the suit, we're bidding it to suggest, partner, I think we should play in this suit. Well, if partner has 5 of them, okay, if partner has 5 of the suit, then, sorry, if the opponents have 5 of the suit, doesn't make much sense that we should suggest it as a trump suit. So if they are showing a long suit, there's no sense in us bidding that same suit. Okay, all right. So therefore, we're trying to bid naturally, and if we can't bid what we want to, we try to bid something else, a natural alternative, aiming to stick to the rules. Okay, so let's look at 2 simple examples, and then I will finish off by mentioning the extra call that we are allowed to make. So 1 diamond from your partner, 1 spade overcall. That's annoying. Okay, so 1 diamond from your partner, 1 spade overcall. It is your bid, and clearly you're a little bit annoyed by your opponent because you were just about to bid 1 spade. Okay, now I don't want you bidding 2 spades here. Okay, because you are not going to want to play with spades as trumps because you're expecting your right hand opponent to have 5 spades. Remember, overcalls promise 5. So most of the time it's going to be a horrible contract to play. And often your partner will just have 1 of them. Now, bear in mind that if you bid 2 spades, if your partner doesn't want to play in spades, he's now got to bid often at the 3 level. So that's much too high. So if we can't bid spades, what do you think you could bid? Well, you haven't got another long suit. How many points have you got? You've got 9 high card points. However, your hand is relatively balanced. It just has 1 doubleton, doesn't it? It's got a 5 card spade suit, but 1 doubleton. So perhaps 1 no trump would do the trick. The good news is that if North decides to lead his partner's suit, which often North will do, well, you'll be very happy if you get a spade lead in your no trump contract. You haven't got cards in all the other suits, but remember your partner's bid diamonds and you with a balanced hand. You're guessing that as a partnership you probably don't have a fit because your partner, clearly you don't want to play in spades because your opponents have bid them. You haven't got long hearts or clubs, and you certainly haven't got very good diamonds. So I think 1 no trump is a nice descriptive bid. Partner, I've got 6 to 9 points. I'm doing my best to respond. Of course, your partner has no idea what you have in spades particularly, but he'll have an idea that you don't feel able to bid a suit. So often that will be the final contract. Of course, your partner will add his points to your points. You've shown 6 to 9. Sometimes if he's got 19, he can jump to 3 no trumps. Now you're probably thinking, I wish I hadn't bid it then, but that's another matter. Okay, you've got to be confident about your bids and be confident about your declarer play as well. So many novices I'll find, oh gosh, I didn't want to play the contract kind of thing. Anyway, let's try another one. 1 diamond, 1 spade again. Okay, same again. 1 diamond, 1 spade. Again, I was planning to respond at 1 spade. And again, the simple thing is I don't want you to bid a suit bid by the opponents. Now, as I mentioned the last time we were on, there are times in the bidding that better players, more experienced players will bid the opponent's suit, but they will do that for specific reasons. They'll be showing strong hands. So I don't want you bidding that here. I want you trying to find a sensible, natural alternative. And I'm hoping that that natural alternative would be 2 clubs. Okay, clearly you've got another long suit. You've got 10 points. You're sticking to the rules. Are you happy with that? Okay, if you'd only had 6 points here, it would have been a horrible choice because I don't want you bidding at the 2 level with fewer than 10 points. You've got to stick to your rules because otherwise you're just letting your opponents muck you around with 6 points. I think we might have had to have done that rubbish bin bid that we talked about before, 1 no trump. However, here, 2 clubs, partner, I've got 10 or more points and I've got long clubs. Carry on bidding. I'm not going to be disturbed by them. Does that make sense? Okay. So those are 2 relatively straightforward examples of being flexible about your bid, but most importantly, not bidding the opponent's suit. Okay. I know it's your suit as well, but remember, the only reason we are bidding a suit is to suggest it as trumps. And we don't want to suggest spades as trumps if South has told us he's got 5 of them. Okay, so what we're going to move on to is this, and this will be in a couple of weeks' time. When your opponents make a bid, you have an extra call available, and it is such an important call, and we're going to talk about this over a few weeks in the coming times. Okay, and that extra call is a double. Okay, the extra call is called double. In the bidding box or online, it has a big X on it. It has a big X. Okay, it's a red card with an X on, and it means double. Okay, now what does it actually mean? Well, that's another matter, and that's what we're going to cover over a period of time. In theory, though, it's simple, meaning is it doubles the scores. Okay, and however, so if they bid a contract and you double it, you're saying, oh, let's play for double. However, it doesn't finish the auction, so your partner can respond to it, as we're going to see. So the natural meaning you would feel is, oh, I don't think they're going to make their contract, let's double it and get more points for taking them down. But as we're going to see, it's not quite as simple as that. Okay, but it's important to understand what double is going to mean and where it can take us, because it's going to be an important extra bid for us. Okay, so competitive bidding, I'm afraid to say it means there's a little bit more language involved. Most of it, though, we're going to try and bid naturally. Most of it, we're going to try and bid naturally. Okay. Thanks for your company. See you again soon.